Right. We have now some good folks from Alaska. The Community Development Quota program from the state of Alaska, with Julie Anderson, who's just stepping up, and Lamar Cotton.
Thank you, Chairman, and members of the committee. It is an honor to be here. I'm very delighted about this. It's been a lot of interesting programs that we've heard about today, and I think one of the key elements that run through all of them is that the Innovations in American Government program is really about people. And it's about the people of Western Alaska that I'd like to talk about today. The people in Western Alaska, and rural Alaska in particular, face an incredible amount of challenges. And as a native Alaskan of Athabascan descent, I am quite familiar with the challenges that these people face. The existing conditions in Western Alaska prior to the Community Development Quota program, which we refer to as the CDQ program, so if I inadvertently call it that, you'll understand what it is I'm talking about. The economy in Western Alaska is extremely undeveloped. It faces a lot of challenges through the geography that's involved, its vast distances, difficult to get to. There are no roads in and out of Western Alaska. Access is only by air, and in the winter, the people in the villages will go between the villages by snow machine, in the summer by boat. There's little to none infrastructure existing, very little resource base on which to establish economic base, and there are also cultural barriers that exist. Primarily in many of the villages, Yupik and Inuit is the primary language. English is spoken as a second language. These conditions, along with the influx of the capitalistic society, TV coming into the villages, has created a situation in the villages for people where there's a high demand for Western goods, but no means to attain these goods. And so this creates some problems. The primary source of income in these villages is through transfer payments. And transfer payments, commonly known as welfare, and the subsistence lifestyle is how these people have existed. This has created a lot of problems, and in one village in particular that I will use as an example, but the conditions exist throughout Alaska in this region. In one village in the late 80s, there were 19 suicides in one village because the young people in that area had no hope for the future. They were raised in a situation where they were familiar in their village and subsistence lifestyle, but no means of going forward unless they left their familiar surroundings. And it's under this kind of a backdrop that the CDQ program was envisioned. The Community Development Quota program is a program that accesses the fisheries resources of the Bering Sea to provide a means of economic development for Western Alaska. This program was devised primarily at the grassroots level by the people in the villages, state officials, members of the North Pacific Fishery Management Council. And this provided the economic means for people to get invested into the fisheries industry and gain some measure of pride and hope for the future. This has made an incredible difference in the village and the people in the region. I've seen it firsthand. I've heard many stories of the people. The children in the villages now speak to the fact that there is hope. When asked what they want to do when they graduate from high school, they say, I want to work CDQ. They don't know exactly what all of that means, but they know it's there and it's something for them and for their future. I'd like to turn this over to Lamar Cotton now, and he'll talk about some of the future challenges and possible replicability.
I think Julie's correct. The program has been successful. It's been successful, as she's mentioned, in probably one of the more challenging places, not only in Alaska, probably North America, in terms of opportunities, employment opportunities. But like any program, it's been in place for 5 years. And probably like many programs that are in the third world, I think, although there are promising results and there has been some real actual results in terms of employment income, I think it's fair to say that there's the jury's out because of the complexity of the program. And I guess we see three major problems ahead for this program, and frankly for Western Alaska. And they are real quick. Simply the health of the fishery itself. The primary fishery is pollock, which is very insensitive to international boundaries and are in fact overfished on the Russian side. The second one is the financial health of the industry itself. The partners of the fishing communities, the owners of the factory trawlers and the onshore plants, simply the industry is overcapitalized. And where that goes, I think it's still in question. The third one, I think, is participation. I think our goal is to get people, as they come into the programs, into training programs, to go from, if you will, the slime line to the pilot house. And as in many cases in the third world or similar circumstances, you know, it looks good in the beginning when you're a trainee or you're an assistant manager, but for where we sit, the real verdict will come in when they are, in fact, an equity partner, not only as an investor, but also as a manager and an owner. Thank you.
Thank you. Dorothy Ridings.
Yes, I wonder if you could clarify for me the origins of the program. I know you mentioned that it was the people of the villages in conjunction with some other government entities, but was it not at the federal level that this was from the origins of it, or am I misinformed?
No, it was at the grassroots level. It's a federal program in light of the fact that it's a federal resource. The fisheries in the Bering Sea are managed by the National Marine Fisheries Service, and we had to go through National Marine Fisheries Service, the U.S. Department of Commerce, to get approval and authority to allocate 7.5% of the resources in the Bering Sea for this program. But it did begin at the grassroots level. It was the people in the villages working along with people that were on the advisory panel to the North Pacific Fishery Management Council and working with state officials to put this all together, and it took an incredible amount of effort. And I do want to state that I'm really here representing the CDQ groups and the people that did all of this hard work and not representing myself or just the state of Alaska.
I think one footnote to that as well is that the North Pacific Fishery Management Council has 11 seats, 6 of which are appointed by the governor of Alaska. And that obviously played well into the this program.
Max Show.
One of the things that strikes me as reading this is that under the Alaska Native Claims Act, the entities had the ability to make their own investments and determine how that would be used. This is different. You have an oversight. Is there an element of paternalism, or does that create problems? It seems to me that it could.
It could. Fortunately, we're a small staff that works with the CDQ groups, and I don't think the paternalism is there. I have, of course, a lot of respect for the people that I work with, and the oversight is the part of the program that makes the program work, and the CDQ groups that I work with recognize that and appreciate that oversight. Of course, they want to make sure we don't get too heavy-handed, but it is what makes us work, and because the condition still exists where a lot of these, the board members that sit on these CDQ groups are inexperienced in the capitalistic system, and so we are both the oversight plus the advocate and the facilitator and the technical advisor all in one.
Can I ask a follow-up?
Sure.
Just to take that, is there any plan to transition toward more independence, assuming that the fishery lasts and all?
Frankly, I don't think so. I think there's a political advantage, if you will, to the groups to have the state in this modest monitoring and oversight responsibility. I think that the choice was to have the federal government do it or have the state of Alaska. I think we were very wise in that.
But a footnote to that as well is the fact that we worked with the CDQ groups to develop investment policies and to have some type of parameters and standards that they adhere to so that they know what we're looking for, and it's not, you know, back and forth paperwork shuffle. They know exactly what is expected of them, and as long as they perform to that standard, then there's very little heavy-handed oversight on our part.
Margo.
I'm wondering how the figure 7.5% was arrived at. And I ask, coming from the state of Washington, where the Native Americans have negotiated 50% of the fish and the forests.
Well, the 7.5% was debated quite a bit. You know, originally, of course, they wanted to try for more. They started with 15, 10%. And when it finally came down to get this accepted by the people from the state of Washington, as well as others, was they took half of the biological reserve, which is 15% of the total allowable catch that is set aside for the pollock program as a reserve in case they get close to overfishing. And they took half of that and set that aside as a CDQ reserve, and that's the compromise that they arrived at.
Kevin Roberts.
I'm not familiar with all of the fish runs and species in the Bering Sea, but I assume there are others in addition to this. Has there been discussion about any other species that might be handled in the same way that the pollock one is?
Yes, it's actually called the Multiple Species Program. It will be initiated next year for all the other species that are regulated by the federal government. So that includes crab, cod, turbot, mackerel,
so that even if the pollock species diminishes, you will have other resources to keep the industry